And today's rally was a rally to call for David Hicks to finally be brought home by the Australian government. I think it was interesting. We organised a similar rally about 6 months ago, and maybe 200-300 people showed up. And today's rally seemed to have about 2,000 people here with a really great energy. And I think it's a real sign that people in Australia have come to learn that David Hicks isn't a terrorist and he isn't a threat on the community in any way. And actually he's someone who's been interned because it suits Howard and Bush to kind of spark fear in people's hearts and minds so they can maintain power. And I think overwhelmingly the sentiment here was that Hicks needs to come home and be free. People have heard about the torture at Guantanamo Bay and heard about the conditions he's being held under, and are now really, really sure that this man isn't a threat to the community, and moreover has been used as a political scapegoat. And I think it's a really exciting time that people have not only begun to realise this, but begun to realise what's going on in Iraq really needs to stop, and people need to pull out, leave Iraq to Iraqis, and stop using all these political prisoners as reasons to maintain power and really kind of rule in a way that denies people their rights and civil liberties in an ongoing fashion.
I see David Hicks in Guantanamo Bay. I was in Egypt, I was very ill. And David Hicks, he was proud of Australia and he proud of his own government. And the end of the story, David Hicks, he find his own people, not you, the Howard government, set him up for the United States. John Howard, he doesn't want to bring David Hicks here for so many reasons. Because he's a good witness against the crime of the government overseas. John Howard kidnapped the Australian citizen outside the country and they take him away for torture and bring him back in Australia secretly, and no one know about it.
So why won't John Howard, ask George Bush to let David Hicks go?
It's really a good question. I mean, 42 out of 43 nationalities represented have all lobbied the US government to bring their citizens home and get them out of Guantanamo Bay. I think it's about Australia's kind of blind and unqualified support for US foreign policy at the moment, and a relationship between Australia and US that really serves the same interests. We have conservative governments that are looking after big business and big business interests in Iraq, and who really want to rule by fear and rule in a way that John Howard doesn't want people to think that David Hicks isn't a threat, because it suits him that people are actually scared and vote for him to keep on pushing through these laws that deny us our rights and deny people like David Hicks their rights, because it gives him a hold on power and also allows him to pursue foreign policy aims that really are about controlling the Middle East and its resources and looking after the interests of few in Australia and even fewer around the world.
He talked to me last 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, and he told me David Hicks, he's very, very bad since I left. If I'm in his position, I would feel the same. And if you believe me now, since I know this from February, I couldn't sleep.
But the situation inside is the situation. They make voices, they make very bright lights, 24 hours, noise is freezing, like a freezer inside. It's unbelievable. How come this guy is finished? He's finished, and what do they say? With Christmas time, they waiting for this guy to turn up crazy. That's what happened. That's what the government does. And this is a human being, I don't believe this is able as a human being.
Transfer these two guys in cage over there and bring David Hicks back, we are the loser. Because David Hicks, when he's coming back, he's supplying to you and he'll tell you the truth about what the government is doing overseas.
David Hicks was in Afghanistan when the war started, and he'd started to study Islam there. Before that he'd gone and tried to become part of the Kosovo Liberation Army because he felt that what was going on in Yugoslavia was unjust. Following that, he was pretty much by coincidence studying Islam in Afghanistan at the time, and was learning things about the Taliban and learning with the Taliban, and found himself kind of protecting a tank or sitting in front of a tank when the Northern Alliance picked him up. He hadn't hurt anyone. He hadn't actively been involved in the war, and then the Northern Alliance sold him to the US, and he's pretty much been held by the US as an illegal combatant since that time. He said quite in a quite unqualified way that yes, he did sympathise with the Taliban, but he really did nothing wrong and was never really involved in the war as such, and just wants to come home. And you know, the fact of the matter remains that if he has done something wrong, and if there is a law that he's broken, why haven't the charges been brought against him? Because the other interesting thing about David Hicks is that there are no charges against him yet. So not only do we have no evidence of what he's done, we don't even know what he's accused of doing at this point, which leaves him in a very, very, very invidious and horrible position to be in 5 years later.